Hello and welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons, Planescape, Torment, the Enhanced Edition. Where we last left off, well, we entered the tattoo parlor, despite Anna's protests, but we managed to convince her everything would be okay. And we also got to find out a bit more about our past.
What is your will?
What is your will? There are things I would know, Dekan. I will hear you. I wanted to ask you about our travels. Dekan waits. When Fel was describing the tattoo on my arm, he said you knew the symbols. Symbols speak of four you have traveled with in the past. What four are these?
Updated my journal.
A tattoo speaks of four minds. One was a woman who loved a man who knew her and knew her not loved. The other was a blind man who saw things no mortal eye could see. Another was a familiar, a mage's pet, bought and bound. The last was a slave. And which of them was you, Dekan? Were you the slave? Dekan was silent for a moment, and the surface of his blade swims as if in turmoil. Know that this one owes you a service, and owing this to you, it became slavery. How did this come to be? Know the tale is long. The matter is between me and the other that was once you. Know that if you hear it, know it shall be a long tale. I would hear it. Upon the rolling plain of limbo, the people shape cities from the chaos of their thoughts. Know that there is no place for a divided mind. Dekan raises the blade from his shoulder and holds it before him, stares at it, yet sharpens until it's almost thin as a piece of paper. Go on. A divided mind is an unfocused mind. A divided mind fractures walls and weakens stone. As Dekan speaks, the edge of the blade corrodes slightly, the metal misting and melting along the edges. Many divided minds may destroy a city. I understand. Go on. Long have I known the words of Zerthamon. Through my voice, many have come to know the words of Zerthamon. The Zerth protect the community from all the threats, whether it be to the body or the mind. They are the guiding stones in the chaos. So it came to be that I spoke the words of Zerthamon without knowing the words of Zerthamon. It came to pass that I no longer knew myself. So you doubted the words? No. Dekan's words is edged, and his blade sharpens response. I knew the words, yet it came into my heart that perhaps others did not know the words as Zerthamon knew them, and so the division formed, as my mind became as two, and my mind became divided. Those that looked to me as a guiding stone became divided. Many scores of Githrathi, many hundred scores of Githrathi, doubled. Shlaktor died that day. So those that followed you came to doubt the words as well, and the city was weakened. The enemies of Zerthamon came. Know that their hatred of these words and the people lent their blades strength. Know that they sensed the weakened city, and they brought war with them. Many Githrai drowned in the chaos, and beneath the blades of our enemies. Small beads of metal appear on the surface of the blade as if blistering. Know this happened long ago. What happened to you? As I fell from the walls of Shraklor, know that myself was broken, my blade was missed, my mind divided. I was adrift upon limbo seas, and I wished to drown. I died for days, my mind awash in division. When death finally came to me, it wore your skin. It had your voice. Me? You ask that I hear you. Dekan says the words, your vision bleeds outward, and a crawling sensation begins to worm its way through the back of your skull. You feel nauseous for a moment, and your vision is suddenly as chaos, smeared, twisted. You are someplace else, someplace in the past. Well, let's surrender to the memory. Everything around you is in turmoil. Your vision is hazy, swirling, dizzying, all at once. There is mist, pockets of fire, islands of mud, stone, and ice-covered rocks swimming through the plain like fish, impacting and dissolving, droplets of water arching through the howling air and lashing your skin like teeth. Choke back on your nausea and you steady yourself. This is the plane of limbo. All is chaos. Nothing is stable. You focus on the dying man that lies before you. it is why you have come to this place. Examine the Zerth, see if he still lives. The man is a Githrai, his body embedded with an earthen pocket that swirls about him. Unconsciously, he has formed a grave from the elements, and though bits of fire and water lick at his face, he does not respond. His hands are ashen, his coal-black eyes focusing on nothing. His emancipated frame speaks of his starvation, but you know it's the least of his wounds. It is fate that dealt him the mortal blow. Look for the blade he carries. In his limp left hand is a twisted mass of metal, its surface having melted around his hand like a gauntlet. As you watch, it streams and hisses like a diseased snake. The Githrai does not seem to be aware of it, but it is that weapon that has brought you here. Dakan, Zerth of Shakular drowning, last wielder of the Krash blade, know that I have come to you with the words of Zerthamon, carved not in chaos, but in stone, carved by the will of an unbroken circle. At the word Zerthamon, Dakan's eyes roll in their socket, and they attempt to focus on you. With effort, he cracks his mouth to speak, but only a dry hiss emerge. You bring forth the stone from your pack and hold it before him so he can see. Know that the words of Zerthamon inscribed upon this stone are true, and know that your divided mind need be divided no longer, and all you must do is take the stone, and you shall know yourself again. Dakan's eyes flicker over the unbroken circle of Zerthamon, and for a moment you think he might be too close to death to recognize it. Then the right hand twitches, and he pulls it towards it from its earthy prison. The clumps of earth streaming off it become water in Limbo's chaotic winds. His skeletal hands clutch the stone like a drowning man, and his eyes flash. Know that I have saved your life, Dakan, Zerth of Saktor.
Updated my journal.
Dakan's eyes turn from stone and flicker over you. He hisses again, too dry for a moment to muster the words. He blinks slowly, then speaks, his voice barely above a whisper, but the words are what you wanted to hear. My life is yours until yours is no more. Close your eyes and return to the present. Dakan is silent. I heard your words. The chaos of my mind becomes still. I knew myself again. So you got the circle from me?
Updated my journal.
Yes, in knowing the words, I knew myself. Very well, there are other things I would know. I will hear you. Tell me again. I already did that. You said I gave you... Tell me about the other me, the incarnation you knew. What was he like? Dakan's gaze traveled through his false silence. Dakan?
Updated my journal.
Know that he was different. Know that the differences were not marked on the skin, nor in the way of weapons, nor in the attire cloaked him. Know that he was different in the way he thought and the means he acted upon his thoughts. His will became substance. Know that he saw others and did not see them. He knew only that they could serve him. His heart was treacherous, and it was cold, and never did the coldness burn him. Did it ever touch you, Dakan? Did he betray you? Dakan's blade began bleeding into a dull, flat black, and you watch as edges like teeth began sprouting from the edge of the blade. His face clenches, and he speaks through his teeth. It is not my will you know of this. Tell me, Dakan, did he ever betray you? No, there were many treacheries. Any treachery upon me was by my hand, no other. Tell me, Dakan, what was this treachery? I surrendered my word to him. I surrendered myself. What are you talking about?
Updated my journal.
People do not allow themselves to be enslaved to another in deed or in chains. If we find ourselves in such a cage, we act to free ourselves, even if it means we must endure another cage for a time. You performed a great service for me. In doing so, you enslaved me. I acted to free myself. Know that I surrendered my word and myself to act in your name until your death. But I can't die. I was not known to this one. I surrendered my word to him. I surrendered myself. Know that there is now nothing left that I may surrender except my life. Know that now I follow you only that I might die. Let's see here. We probably want to release him. So this other other me executive promised you to serve him until he died, and you didn't know he was immortal? Excellent. Let's move on, slave. What was the service I gave you that chained you? You saved this one's life. In exchange, your life became mine. Dakan, it doesn't have to be that way. I can release you. I no longer wish you to be a slave. Consider the debt paid. No, Dakan's forehead creases in pain. His eyes stare through you. It is not your word that carries the weight, and your word will not free me. The word that chains me is mine. The torment is mine. I know in my heart that the chains remain. Words will not free them. Is there any way you can be freed? You must die a final death, yet your path is not death's path. There is no resolution to the matter. I swear I'll find one, Dakan. I will find one that sets you free.
Updated my journal.
Dakan's voice became ragged as if he suddenly become sick. Know that you have added other words to my words. His expression of both pain and his eyes meet you. Now you have chained us both. Giving him a vow. Doesn't seem to like it, but it doesn't affect his morale. Okay.
Done.
I guess I've made modifications to the agreement, which he doesn't like, but at least it's an agreement that's benefiting him. Hey, Pox. Had some questions for you. Can you sneak me in? Tend to be dead. Sure. And this is the second floor. What are you still doing here? Nothing. Doddering Corpse has eyes in his hands. Leave the corpse in peace. There's a person here that we want to check out. One sec. Okay, we want to actually head north from here. See a male corpse with the number 331 chiseled into his skull. His eyes and lips stitched closed. There's a gaping hole torn from his throat. He smells foul. Use your story's bones tell ability on the corpse. What? The zombie awkwardly gets his voice back and sounds alarmed. Who's there? Answer me. Can you not see me? Blind I am, in death as I was in life. Now answer me. Who are you? Who are you? Zombie comes alive. My name has fled me. I can no longer remember who I am. I know not your name. I may return when I've found it. Farewell. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. I think I have to talk with Dakan a bit more.
What is your will?
Things I would know. Talk about our travels. Who are the others? Can you tell me of the four? Woman was young. She worshipped you for a time in her blood. She knew of things to come. The archer was a blind man, and he could see things no other could see. Path of arrows always led to the heart of an enemy. The familiar and the slave I know little of. seeing things to come. The woman's name wasn't Denora, was
Updated
it?
my journal.
No, that Denora was the name she carried. What do you know of the Archer? I know little of him. I knew he was a soldier. I know that alcohol had taken a portion of life. In blindness he had become to know a different sight. In knowing this he had become strong, yet he did not know his own strength. You know what his name was? Before Darkon responds, you suddenly know the answer. There's a crawling sensation in the back of your skull, and you feel the name surfacing, as if from beneath a great muddy ocean. His name was Zachariah. He was blind, but in blindness he had gained a second sight that allowed him to see things hidden to others. He was an archer, and where his arrows flew, they found the hearts of their
Updated
targets.
my journal.
Know that Zachariah was the name he carried, and know that his name pierced the heart of many enemies. All I wish to know. Zachariah? What, you? Zombie seemed shocked, but glad. By the lady's gaze. Aren't you dead, Cutter? What are you doing here? I am a stable hand in the most lifeless place of all, be it that I could pass beyond the eternal boundary and have a plane to call my own, but much of my soul was squandered. Now I am here. What's it like being a zombie? It's honest work. Stitching comes undone from Zachariah's mouth, his lips peel back with might be a smile. I care little for it. And some other questions. What can you tell me about my previous life? Why, have you forgotten yourself? In a matter of speaking, yes. Well, you were a strange one. Always suspicious when watching for something like... Reckon someone like you got enough enemies in your lifetimes. And there was no denying that anyone who messed with you ended up in the black chapters of the Dead Book. Anything else? Any specifics? You could be damnably ruthless, too, like when you made me sign that contract, or abandon the one muling chit on Adverus. We had a Balor of a time as well. None of us ever entertained the notion of jump ship on your watch. I see. Anything else? Anything you could help me? At your core, you looked at what happened to you like taking territory in a war. Everything in a battle was a battle to you, and you were the most ruthless bastard I never near met. Naught else mattered except for solving that goal. Poor Deandra, with her sobbing and pleading with you, didn't stay away you none. The Glyph warning you about your strategies, and poor Zachariah just trying to hold on where we hit the plains. You were tough, like you couldn't die, but we were only human. Now I guess we're all in the Dead Book, in and out of it, so to speak. Deandra? That feisty chit who would be soldier swore she'd follow you to Bator and back, and by the powers, she was so addled by the thought of you without her, she did just that. Cared little for me or the Gith, and a bare little it was. She was a wild child with poison for you, or wild at heart with poison for you. She was proof she was barmy. I don't understand what the women folk saw in your scarred mug, but it set their blood a-boil. She was some rich scut from the clerk's ward and needed something. You needed something from her, and the only price was she came with you. What did I want from her? One of the darks I never did bring to light, Cutter. Perhaps you'll tell me. I don't know myself. What led you to state? Hot path following in your footsteps, Cutter. Many terrible things did I see. Took to drink and became half sodden with the stuff. Once, when I was soldering drunk, I signed my body off to the Dusties. Fate decided to kick me when I was down. I died shortly after. Had some other questions. What can you tell about the mortuary? A place of the dead, run by the dead. Some things not right here, though. Like what? I'll tell you the dark of it. There's a zombie that pretends to be a zombie, but isn't. I don't care much for knowing the reason why, but it's a strange thing. Anything else? Another thing, that old Gisfry, the one that keeps the preparation room. Dull. Saved you from the crematorium a score of times. You're lucky to have a friend in that one. I know. Some other questions. Previous companion. Motley crew we were. Half-dead man who couldn't get himself penned to the Dead Book if he tried. So ugly with the power of death wouldn't take him. Whaling adventure advocate's daughter, a Gith exile, bobbing jackal-tongued skull, and a half-sudden blind archer like myself. Floating skull. That filthy talking skull was hankering for a bruise, and so it was. Always smarting it off it was, making fun of my condition. Okay. The Gith? Grim-looking Gith, unfriendly and silent like all their kind. Didn't trust a lick, I didn't. See, Cutter, them spindly Gith care only about two things. Keeping out of slavery and killing them squid-headed illithids. Everything else just lower down the slope. He didn't give a damn about any of us other than you. Why was that? One of the docks and a ring delight. Previous companions. Now, whatever happened to my journal? That scrapbook you'd stitched together out of your own flesh and more pages than I had years to my life. Good fortune indeed if you'd lost that ghoulish book, always scribbling in it where you were. It smelled of fright, like you were afraid that at any moment someone would take it away. You wrote in it till skin tore from your fingers, and I wondered if you were trying to spill out your brain box through your pen. Sometimes we would hold up for days as you wrote. I hated that infernal book. It seemed to hold you by the heart, not in a kind way. Last time I saw a Cutter is in your possession. If you don't carry it, I don't know where on the plains it could be. You were a blind archer. Truth. Before you go, I need you to do me a slight favor, Cutter. Oh, what is it? Voice drops to, I made some mistakes. Some damn bad ones, to be sure. One of my biggest was signing that Dustman contract. If I hadn't been so sodden with Bub, I never would have done it. I regret it. I was hoping you could set it right. How? Way I reckon. This body's got to last a long time. Every day is too long for me. Could you maybe gut me again, Cutter? For old time's sake? Thought of spending another batch of years here in the mortuary with these white faces is a mighty cold one. Can you see fit to put me back in the dead book where I belong? If that is your wish. You gut him, and Zechariah falls to the floor with a heavy thud. There's a faint hiss from his body, and you see his chest heave once. Then with a faint rattle, the corpse goes silent. Rest in peace, Zechariah. Interesting. I was supposed to get some items from him. Guess I'll have to figure that one out. Have a good one, folks.